Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, all of our friends on the spectrum and in between, welcome to another episode of The Shutter Show. My name is Ken Stackton, and this is my very good friend,
David Marlowe.
And today, we are talking about a very different kind of movie than we have talked about previously. David, we gave you a choice last week of two very different films, and you chose one of them. Which one of those films did you choose?
Monster! Humanoids from the Deep.
That's correct. And that is very much the title of this movie, which is Monster, first and foremost, and then, in parentheses, very small underneath it.
So small! What
Humanoids
the fuck was going
of the
on
Deep.
with that?
So the main reason that happened was the production...
It's not on the poster, by the way.
The production said to themselves, we probably aren't going to get a very good cast if we call this movie Humanoids of the Deep. And in fact, the movie they called it during production was Beneath the Darkness. Which sounds like some real, is that some Hemingway stuff?
Excuse me while I undo this lower button.
Is this a production? What is this? Is this an adult drama? Is this a story?
Is this producer seducing me?
Yes, exactly. But in fact, no. They were just making a movie that, let's be clear, is... And I'm sorry to everyone involved. Honestly, I forgot about this. And let me first say, Katie, I am so sorry how much fish rape this movie has in it. Because it has so much fish rape in it, and I am so sorry.
I will say, I did not expect there to be any fish rape.
It's not really something that you're that concerned about.
All.
There are problems.
Which, by the way, not the raping of fish, but fish raping others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is...
It's like going to SeaWorld and having a good time with the dolphins and then it taking a very bad turn.
So there are some problematic elements to this film. Starting off, certainly most of all, with fish rape. But also including some very uncouth treatment of Native American peoples. Some very creepy ventriloquist dummy shit. And also dog murder. And
I will tell you, the movie almost lost me in the first 10 minutes.
Yep, no, soup, my bad.
So...
Completely forgot about this turn in the movie. One of those things when...
Once you get past it, you're done with it, and it doesn't really come back, but...
Look, I'm almost 40. I have been watching movies for a long time.
You're about to adopt a dog.
I'm about to adopt a dog, 100%. And... yeah, just real easy to forget about some of the very problematic aspects of this movie. However, I do also think that there are a lot of things in Humanoids of the Deep that are very, very good. Some people you might want to know about, David.
Please do tell.
So this is the very first movie of James Horner. You know...
That is one of the things that I noticed in the credits was his name popped up. I'm like, the fuck is James Horner doing in here?
Not only is he in it, it's his debut. He's all over this movie. And for anybody who doesn't know who James Horner is, he just did every movie that Christopher Nolan and James Cameron, all of your favorite movies.
If you don't know who James Horner is, I am so sorry for you that you didn't realize that he painted most of your childhood.
Google his name and feel embarrassed. He is up there with, John Williams as one of those people who, if you don't know the contribution that he made to your childhood, it is...
John Williams...
It is upsetting.
John Williams had Star Wars. James Horner had Humanoids from the Deep.
It is one of those things where everyone needs to get their start somewhere, and this was James Horner. Do you know who also had this movie as their start? Rob Bottin. You know, the guy who did the special effects for The Thing. And also, I'd like to point out that, like, there's one more guy in this who has even a bigger connection to some of the movies we talked about. But let's just talk about Rob Bottin. He also was working with Chris Wallace and Kenny Myers. These three guys together were our main special effects team, and they are what brought together the holy trifecta of low budget special effects, which in my opinion are blood, slime, and latex. These three people brought together everything that you want from a low budget film. And let me be clear, this movie is low budget. Beyond low budget. This movie is Roger Corman. Now, I don't know if you know anything about Roger Corman, David.
The name is unbelievably familiar.
Okay, so he was in charge of something called American International Pictures. Basically, he is the model for all exploitation filmmaking. Period. He is what every low-budget filmmaker aspires to be in the best possible way. He is such a pure filmmaker that one of his sayings is, "When the monster dies, the movie is over." And I am not lying when I say that one of the Roger Corman movies dies before the monster has even hit the ground. You see him get kicked off of a cliff. He plummets towards the ground. You hear the monster scream. And before the monster hits the ground and you get the big thump, it says the end. And then it hits the ground and the movie fades out and it's done. And for this movie, which is also like, I believe, 82 minutes... I
was very surprised by how short this was.
82
strangely
minutes.
Thankful.
Yep. No, this is a movie that knows when it's over. And this movie is over when the monster dies.
It does not seem like a movie that would be that short because you expect there to be more. And you're like, oh, you're really running to the conclusion here. And then you realize, oh, wait, that one character has been gone for 5 minutes. Where did she go? Oh, Fish Baby.
It is more of a movie that knows exactly what it is and apologizes for none of it.
No.
At all.
It is hilariously unapologetic. And it is one of those movies where I think it really is interesting that we went from The Love Witch. Well, granted, the last one we did was The Wailing, but before that we did The Love Witch, a very feminist movie draped in exploitation skin, then to just straight exploitation.
Oh,
and so like
yes.
in sort of like I watched this film, and then after that I wanted to sort of dive a little bit into exploitation in general and what is exploitation and what the differences between exploitation and sexploitation.
Now, this film I think is a very good fine line to make that distinction, because this movie both has the distinction of being directed by a woman. This movie is directed by Barbara Peters.
Temporarily directed.
However, yes, Roger Corman saw the final cut of the movie and decided that the in particular rape scenes were not
rapey enough
that he brought in Jimmy Rocky to like amp up the rape scenes. Which
what this rape needs?
More
a man's opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, it is a real...
It is...
Bruh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's...
I will say that this movie... So like the first cut of this movie, I would argue, is more the movie I'd really, really like to talk about. Because it is a movie where Barbara went ahead and made sure to shoot the murder of the men as brutally and as exploitationally as possible. And while...
and you see a little bit of that left in there.
A little bit, yes. But then also, she left most of the women rape scenes, which there are way too... I'm so sorry. Way too many of in this movie. But she shot them mostly in shadow, mostly in darkness, mostly in a way that is to be implied. And then Roger Corman decided that wasn't
Here is the close-up of the hip thrust.
Yes, let's go ahead and make sure to really concentrate on all the just the worst parts of all of this. And for that, I honestly forgot about that, and I'm sorry.
That, it has now created a new semi-regular segment that I would like to call My Wife, where I talk about...
I'm so sorry, Katie.
Where I talk about...
So sorry.
The reaction from the lovely tiny woman that is my wife.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Katie.
the woman who stands by you, who chooses to be supportive despite most of my terrible decisions up until now.
She was so confused, and then she got very angry. And so to give you some context here, my wife and I, we live in a 1-bedroom apartment. So when I watch one of these movies, she has to join me on this journey.
Not really a lot of places.
Unless she says, I need to retire to the bedroom because this is just too much. And it has happened more than once where some of these movies, she's just like, I need to go in here because I'm sorry, I don't want to see a splinter slowly pushed into somebody's eyeball.
Not a lot of places for Katie to hide.
I am going to retire. Mm-hmm. And I think she drew the line at fish rape.
Yep.
Nope. Severely.
I kind of drew the line too.
But the thing is, though, it wasn't necessarily just the fish rape. By the end of it, she's like, there is so much obligatory showing of tits and just running away whilst there is a camera close-up on literally just the woman's breasts bouncing up and down to where by the time the credits played, or even I would say before, she was genuinely angry. And so in my own self-defense, I chose to blame Ken.
Yep, no.
Because I have to sleep next to this beautiful woman, and I would prefer to wake up with her not thinking that I knowingly chose a rape fish movie, because I was not aware of the full content of this film, nor did Ken recall.
I did not.
What was in there?
The only thing I can say in my defense is I did not recall the staggering amount of ichthyologically related rape that this film happened to contain. I am so sorry. I did not mean it. And also, I will make the argument that most of the time the women fought back. And I would like to... And the commentary track makes this argument as well. And so I will make it on behalf of the commentary track. Most of them are strong female characters who fight back against the people who are causing... I don't necessarily agree with that. I will say I've watched a lot of movies from the 70s, and I will agree with you that most of the time that is not even the bare minimum that those movies can meet. In which case, yes, fine, I will give you that the barest of minimums.
I would also like to argue that this is the most Republican film that I've ever seen, in the sense that a woman is forced to carry a baby to term even though it is a giant fish baby that kills her.
I mean, yes, 100%. This is 100% a movie that is also happens...
For science!
That happens because white people are super mad at Native Americans for saying, like, you pushed us out of their land. And also...
But our money!
But also a movie that happens because 100% because a trout canning firm decides to use growth hormone and makes the fish really big. And also, I will also admit that this is one of Vic Morrow's last films, which is endlessly tragic because he died because John Landis is a piece of shit. David, do you know about The Twilight Zone and Vic Morrow?
Fill me in. I don't want to be ignorant and say that I do.
So, long or the short of it, if you watch the Twilight Zone movie, in the segment that John Landis directed that takes place during the Vietnam War, a helicopter 100% crashed and decapitated Vic Morrow, and I believe it is 2 children? Could have been 1.
Oh, this was a real thing that happened?
Yup. Yeah, anytime anyone tries to try to apologize to you about Max Landis, yeah, his dad's a murderer. And that's...
Also, Max Landis is and always will be a piece of fucking shit.
But also his dad's a murderer, so he learned it from somewhere. It's really complicated. Shudder has a whole series on it on Curse Productions, and
is that on Curse Productions?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen an episode yet.
Yes.
Oh well, I'm watching.
Yep. It is one of those truly oh man, this sucks, because not only is there issues of whether or not, and from what I understand, the absolutely answer is not, that John Landis was breaking legal child labor laws. And again, from what my understanding is,
he certainly was.
He certainly fucking absolutely was. But yeah, it was the kids were working late after they were supposed to with Vic Morrow, who was hey, this is pretty late. We're not supposed to be doing this. And they were yeah, but we have to just make the day.
But we got to get that shot.
And then yeah, the helicopter just decapitated Vic Morrow and the 2 kids. And it's a real... Oh. It's like when you find out someone died making one of the Triple X movies. Really? Someone...
Who died during the Triple X?
One of the stuntmen.
Oh.
And it's one of those
Or that train track accident that happened not too long ago.
That to me feels extra tragic because that's Sarah. No one ever asks a camera person, camera people do not get hazard pay to do a scene that is unbelievably dangerous, where stuntmen...
Which is ridiculous, because have you seen...
And yes, camera people do.
Because have you seen Crank?
But
have you seen the shit that the fucking camera people have to do in Crank?
And to be fair, I will also say a lot of times you find out when you read about those productions, most of those productions, those directors are doing operating themselves. And I don't think that makes it okay. I do not think that makes it all right. I will at least say most of the time, from what I've seen in research, those dudes are willing to take the risks themselves.
Ugh.
However... a stuntman doing a stunt with a helicopter is one thing, and an actor doing it is another. A stunt person doing it, a camera person doing it is another. That should be definitely a dwindling list of people who might die from this. The stunt people are admitting, yes, what I'm going to do here is kind of stupid. But I'm going to waive some of the right, and I'm going to be given some of the money. Actors, the same, also say, I'm willing to do this kind of stupid thing, and as a result, I would like a little bit more money. And that is not always done, and I don't know if that's what the case here was. I don't know. So please don't imply that I have said that. However...
I'm going to imply it.
But, third one is camera person, where it's no man, you're twisting focus or clapping clapboards. You shouldn't be in danger because an AD has decided that a train is allowed to come down this track.
Yeah.
No. That's like saying, well, the catering person could have gotten shot, and you're like, no, the
catering
catering
is-
person should be so far away from anything that is even remotely close to
The
a
worst
ballistic
thing they should
stunt
die
being
from
done.
is from food poisoning.
Yes, no, exactly. It is not something that they should be susceptible to if you just think about how production is supposed to work at all. And I will say that actors are sometimes put at risk. These aspects.
For the sake,
actors,
and I will say,
and Vic Morrow should not have been.
As somebody who has throughout, I moved out here to Los Angeles originally as an actor, and not only here in Los Angeles but in Chicago as well. I have been part of productions that the director thought that their film was so important that certain people's safety had to be put at risk for the sake of the shot. I can tell you right now that is the biggest load of fucking bullshit that has ever existed, or even not even so their safety, but their legal liability has been put at risk. And if any
so
director
scary.
asks you to do any kind of guerrilla shooting that could put either your physical safety or your legal safety at risk, you have every fucking right to tell that director to go fuck themselves and then report them. Because that is bullshit. I'm sorry, but no amount of art is worth that. It is so fucking insane. This movie is one of those things where I'm just like, how much is currently being put at risk for the sake of just exploitation? And I'm not entirely I'm not necessarily sure what the movie is trying to get out of it, other than butts and seats.
I would argue that this particular movie, and everything, listening to the commentary track, to listening to the behind the scenes, to reading reading about the production in the booklet that comes with the DVD, with reading everything that I could find on YouTube and behind the scenes stuff. While yes, this movie absolutely is an exploitation movie with a capital E, through and through, it delivers on slime, blood, boobs, monsters. It 100% does not apologize at all for what it is trying to do. It brings you things that you cannot believe you have never seen before, or you can believe you've never seen before on the screen, because it's insane. But from what I can understand, it did those things safely, and it did those things cheaply. Like I know for a fact. So even though this movie is called Humanoids From the Deep, plural, even though it's called Monster, singular, even though the tagline is things not human, but they hunt human women, not for killing, but for mating. Which I will say also is just way overcomplicated when it comes to the verbiage. But also, again, insinuates multiple humanoids from the deep. They had a grand total of one costume. One costume that also had extendable, long, weird arms. But only two other costumes that were considered quote-unquote screen ready. So this is a real... Actually, these guys are pretty good at recycling costumes and moving things back and making sure that in this one shot, yes, there's one monster attacking this lady, but you'll notice there's also one monster attacking this lady. And not going to say that two monsters in this shot wouldn't be better, but let's be clear, there's one exactly full suit. And the guy who is in it is in it. And he's doing the thing that you can do with one full suit. And then there are two partial suits that can be like half drizzled in slime, half put in the background, mostly used in the dark. You know, real...
They could have easily taken this and gone full Alien with it.
They could have gone full Alien like 4, where they're really pushing what they can get away with.
Yeah.
They really could have made this movie seem very silly. But I would argue that one of the main reasons that this movie isn't really, really silly is a dude whose name is Mark Goldblatt. David, do you know who Mark Goldblatt is?
I do not. Please do tell me who Mark Goldblatt is.
Mark Goldblatt is the editor of this movie. And
that poor man.
That poor man. And let's be clear, on the special edition, on the special features, he talks specifically about how he made mistakes that he helped him figure out how to do this. How he was so tired one night that he accidentally cut a bunch of frames out of some of the shots where the girl is stabbing the monster. And he realized how much better that jump cut made the shot. And so that's what's in the movie. I'm going to give you a murderer's row right now of some movies that Mark Goldblatt has edited.
Please
do. And I'd like you to tell me if you think that maybe he's good at his job.
Okay.
Piranha.
Which you have compared this film to.
Terminator. Commando. Terminator 2. Predator 2. True Lies. Showgirls. We'll give him that one. Starship Troopers. Bad Boys. Not even Bad Boys 1. Bad Boys 2.
Arguably the better of the Bad Boys films.
And one of the most... maybe the most insane car chase ever edited by anyone ever. Also, Armageddon and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Mark Goldblatt knows...
He has me... you had me on Rise of the fucking Planet of the goddamn Apes. I love that movie so goddamn much.
I'd like to point out that Humanoids of the Deep... James Cameron watched this movie and was like, "Oh, I'm stealing your editor and your composer." Oh no, they are mine
forever.
Mine. Nobody else gets them. They are mine.
True Lies, you get the horse scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody. I get them, and like, this is one of those things where like, I don't know. I'm not going to say James Cameron was wrong for wanting to recruit those two people to work on his...
Say what you will about James Cameron. The dude knows how to pick a fucking crew.
Dude knows how to look at a hot pile of shit and say, actually, a couple of kernels in there look pretty good to me. And that is not an easy thing to do. Because let's not forget, like, he did that with our boy... He did that with our boy from our Steadicam operator from Street Trash. He was like,
yes, he did.
I'm sorry that I don't think this dude can necessarily direct a movie, but boy, does that dude know how to move a camera. I will take him, please. That is not a light gift.
He is the NFL talent scout of fucking shit teams.
It is a real... Oh, man... I don't know who Tom fucking Brady played for before, whatever he plays the Patriots, whatever dumb shit. I don't know. Sports is dumb. Anyway, there is a talent to being able to recognize that, I don't know, man, that dude seems to really be able to throw a ball.
I would
like it or not.
Yeah. And I will say, like, to this director's credit for Humanoids from the Deep, like, to these directors' credit, you know, I think a couple of the actors that they went with were not necessarily bad ideas. One of the ones, Doug McClure, who you might also recognize from The Land That Time Forgot. Mm-hmm. Dude has been considered as a face that never grows old.
Yeah, no, one of those guys that you're like, oh, I've seen that guy in the thing with the...
He's in granted, he wasn't in much of a role, but he was in fucking Maverick. He was in a whole bunch of different... Like, he's one of these old-timey actors where you're just like, I've seen you everywhere.
He's not a name.
Better yet, my grandma has seen you everywhere.
He's not a name. He's a face. And that's so much harder than anyone who hasn't been an actor understands.
He also
has... just being recognized by your grandma is actually a huge achievement and very hard to do. And just being in Maverick is
Doug
like...
McClure, I know that handsome fella.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say Doug McClure is a sexy fucking name. I'm sorry, but
that's a good ass name.
It's a Futurama name.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Doug McClure. You may remember me from such films as Humanoids From the Deep and A Fish Raped My Mother.
And I would absolutely recognize him from that movie, because this movie, in my opinion, despite the fact that it is, Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry, problematic as all get out, is one of those movies I think that you should check out. I mean, even if it's one of those movies where, like, even if you're like, so Barbara Peters, right, directed this movie. And as we talked about before, didn't make it rapey enough for Roger Corman. And we talked about this, sorry, slightly off.
Which, granted, I will say Roger Corman is the king of exploitation. I would say he's one of the founding fathers of exploitation. So if there was one person to say that a film wasn't rapey enough, it would probably be this man.
I mean, like, to give you an idea of who Roger Corman gave his start to, just super quick, off the back of the Blu-ray here.
Mm-hmm.
He gave his first movie. He gave Jack Nicholson his first movie. He gave Francis Ford Coppola his first movie. He gave John Demme his first movie. He gave Martin Scorsese his first movie. This is a man who has given people a shot who have gone on to do what can only be described as artistic things. I will also say that 100%, after he hired Barbara Peters, and Barbara Peters delivered to him a cut of Humanoids of the Deep, which was not, in Roger Corman's terms, rapey or exploitative enough, he 100% brought in Jimmy Murakami, who was a second unit director, to come in and add a bunch more rape and a bunch more nudity and a bunch more problematic stuff.
But he brought us Death Race.
Well, he brought us Death Race. I will also say that, like, this film is one of Roger Corman's more popular from a box office standpoint, and I don't know if that's necessarily Jimmy's contribution. It really seems like Roger Corman thinks that, and sure, I'll believe him, but also really leaning into the worst aspects of this movie that I think would work just as well without it, because I think of a lot of the Jaws ripoffs, a lot of the Creature from the Black Lagoon ripoffs, a lot of the exploitation film ripoffs from the 70s that it was doing. This one, I think, kind of gets most of the jump scares right. It gets most of the scares right. And I would argue most of the effects are pretty good.
I would also argue that Roger Corman kind of knows who his base audience is in terms of as being a producer or an executive producer. Ken, I'd like to read you some of the titles that this man has contributed to our society.
I am familiar with most of them, but David, knock me out.
Okay, here are a couple of them. Cobra Gator.
Hell yeah.
Death Race 2050.
I own that.
Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Not a good movie.
The fact that you've seen that is startling.
That's upsetting.
Sharktopus versus Terracuda. Water Wars.
Oof.
Oh, and again, Death Race Inferno. He's a big fan of the Death Race. Virtually Heroes.
Death Race 2000, to be clear, is the best. Also, one of Sylvester Stallone's first movie, whose name is in it is Frankenstein.
This is why we're friends, Ken. This is why we're friends.
Death Race is on it. Like,
he loves combining animals: camel spiders, piranhaconda.
Yes, that is
Sharktopus, Dino Croc versus Super Gator, Dino Shark.
It's very problematic.
Super
honestly.
Gator.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. Yes. No. Oh God.
Scorpius gigantus.
It's not good.
It's
really bad.
loves combining them animals with things that don't exist.
Yeah. No. He's a real tab A slot B
He knows his audience.
But
you gotta
also,
give him that.
But also, I will argue, gave Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola their first shots, and hired Barbara Peters, and then 100% acted like a total gigantic piece of shit, and was like, make your movie rapier, and she was like, no, and he was like, well, I'll just hire a dude to do it.
Because if there's one thing a dude can do, it's
make something
rapier.
Yep, no, that's
God
a real.
Damn it.
It's a real low bar that I have for men to make things rapier.
Women, I will say this right now.
Sorry.
We both apologize.
It's neither of our faults, but we're so sorry.
Like we do feel like every time a piece of shit like this comes along, or at least a piece of shit move like this comes along, we got to apologize for it. We share some sense of gender relative responsibility to it.
I feel it just falls under like the least amount that I can do, and not that it's a whole lot. But I really feel like it's the least amount that I can do. Just be like, I'm so sorry.
Ken, you tricked us both into a crazy ass fucking weird exploitation fish rape movie.
I was not.
And what was the other choice that you had given me?
I don't even. Was it Open Water? No, it wasn't even. I don't even remember anymore.
I picked it because I felt bad that Ken kept tossing me water monster movies, and I feel like he really wants me to watch a movie where a monster kills people in the water, and so you know what? I'm going to give him this. Mm-hmm. And at this point now, I feel hesitant to let him have any terms whatsoever.
Yeah, you're not
in the water.
You're not wrong, David. That I should be ashamed of myself. That this movie was not what I remembered it to be. So I believe I've said before, I am almost 40. And sometimes I saw movies when I was like, and I know this is hard to believe for people, like in my 20s, which was like a long time ago, and I legitimately forgot.
When you were a wee pup.
Because like when I'm coming up with ways to classify movies in my head, an unbelievable amount of fish rape is not like a hashtag that I go ahead
fish rape.
And I assign. It is not something that I'm putting in there to be like, oh, I should remember that this is an issue.
I don't know if you folks have noticed this by then, but it took us we had to have a couple more beers than usual to cover this film.
Also, I will say part of it is that I'm in the middle of getting a dog, and that is complicated. I will also say that there's a pandemic, and fascists are stealing the government from us, so there's also that. I will also say I accidentally chose a movie with an overwhelming amount of fish rape in it and just felt bad and was like, hey, David, I'm going to need... I feel like all I'm going to talk about right now is fish rape. I'm going to need another viewing or so I can talk about, I don't know.
See, I need to figure out how to spin this.
Yep, yeah. Not really proud of the choices that I've made now.
Which I will say, like, to Shudder's credit, I'm like, you know what? You really give everybody the benefit of the doubt with this one.
It is a movie where, again, I will point out, with the exception of the poor woman who had to be like piled under an obscene amount of what I can only assume is incredibly cold seaweed, and was told, just pretend to be vaguely alive so people know that the fish raping you to death doesn't actually kill you. How bad I feel for her for that day of filming. Sweetie, I want to buy you eggs and sausage. I want to buy you a pig meat.
Also, we're going to put you in a scene where you are forced to give birth to a fish baby.
It's really...
that does not seem to want to come out of your vagina and just says, fuck it, I'm going to burst out of your stomach like the worst chest... Like the lamest, most disturbing chest burster that I've ever seen, and it's just like, cool, that's where you spent the money on your real gore effects.
And I will say 100%, there are a handful of scenes where at least you tried to give the women the most basic amount of agency and have them fight for their lives.
I will say, though...
I'm so sorry.
To this film, and here's the thing, one of the few credits I will give this film, is that it gave us the best ventriloquist
Oh.
sex kink scene that I have ever
It
witnessed.
is, yeah, Annabelle.
And the best
eat your heart
line
out,
that
man.
I've ever fucking heard in my goddamn life.
Which line is that, David?
Oh, that line is like I'm gonna give you a little bit of context first to lead up to this line.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this woman, like, they are in a tent on the beach having a romantic day together, and this dude that she has decided to be like, oh yeah, this is the one that I want to rock my socks, is a dude that likes to bring his ventriloquist dummy into the mix,
Which,
and make
gentlemen,
it part of the scene.
Don't
ever think that this is okay.
I cannot.
And so while she is disrobing, he is still
your wife
using the
asked
dummy.
you specifically to bring this dummy to bed, please.
And this woman is a saint because she is going with it. Like, she is committed to it. She's like, this is my man's kink, and you know what? I love him, and I'm going to support him despite how fucking weird this is. To the point where she gives the single greatest line I have ever heard in a sex scene with a ventriloquist dummy, which are not many, but
I'm going to go ahead and say you don't even need to say the second part of that sentence. I'm going to go ahead and say just best line in a sex scene. But David, what is that line?
Best line in a sex scene is, oh, but am I going to get splinters? It's okay, I've been sanded.
It's a real... You really hope the screenwriter pushed himself back in his rolling chair on his hardwood floor and leaned back and then made that look on his face like that Antonio Banderas gif where he's just like, ooh. You really hope he was like, man, my wife is going to fuck me tonight because of the line that I just wrote. And I really want to believe, and I don't know if it's real, but I want to believe that deep down in his heart of hearts, he believed it. Because I think that's the most important thing. Because if he believed his wife was going to fuck him for writing
those
that
words
line,
were typed on a typewriter. Because I imagine that's how old this movie was.
There was a ding.
And then
he had to push the other end aside.
Copies were made. And then he handed it to somebody. And they said, hold the print. I want to fucking make this movie for you. That is the best goddamn line I've heard in my whole fucking life. We're going to make movies together.
Like, David, I don't think you understand. It was a physical copy made with, like, a literal physical toner. Like a cartridge full of physical toner. Like, in that way that, like, when you find out that people, like, serial killers in the 70s used those to hide their identities. So, like, cops got really good at, like, copy machines. And you're like, oh, man, that's a really weird niche piece of, like, technology for cops to be obsessed with. And you were like, yeah. And this person was like, yeah. This piece of machinery is going to make a copy of the most important document in my life.
So everyone listening to this podcast, I completely understand
why you stopped listening 25 minutes ago.
I know. I completely understand if this movie is not your cup of tea.
I
will also completely understand if you're like, I have to figure out what the fuck these guys are talking about.
I forgot. I legitimately watching it felt genuinely bad that I suggested this movie to normal people who like normal things. I should not have. This movie was a mistake. But that said, all involved probably agree. So that's the least that we can do.
Ken, what do you have for me next?
David,
what on God's green earth is next?
All right,
Please tell
David,
me.
All right, so David, there are two movies. I tried to go. So this movie was from 1980.
Okay.
This time around, I tried to go with something slightly sooner, and so I went with one of two movies. One movie called Them, aka Ils, which is French, and then we're going back to Korea for Tales of Two Sisters, which is, if I'm remembering correctly, Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite unless I am very racistly confusing him with someone. Jesus Christ, let me check right now.
Please check right now.
Yeah, no, let me just...
My God.
Yep.
Hold on.
Tale of Two. Okay, this is me trying to be... this is directed by... Nope, I'm a big racist piece of shit. Kim Ji-won. Okay, so...
What has Kim Ji-won also done?
Kim Ji-won has done a couple of other movies.
Oh, did he do I Saw the Devil?
He did I Saw the Devil.
Fuck yes, I love that film.
And The Last Stand, and I was confusing him with the guy who did, what's it called? What's it called with an O? Oh, man, okay, I'm really embarrassing myself now. Oh, man, stop, knock it off. It is, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is getting editing out.
That's what editing is for, Ken.
This is, oh, man. What's that one with Josh Brolin?
Excuse me, audience, while Ken does some sciencey stuff.
While
Ken goes into his laptop
I'm
and just
sorry,
deep dives.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Come on. Spike Lee directed it. It's that remake that... Damn it, David, help me out.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You absolute monster. Old Boy.
Oh,
I could not...
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was the director of Old Boy. You absolute monster. I tried so hard at...
We are keeping every second of
44
Ken, we are
minutes.
keeping every second of that, and we are not letting a bit of it fall to editing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a part of this now.
No, I'm going to hell, and I'm sorry, everyone. But yeah, I was trying to think of the remake of Old Boy, and I couldn't do it.
All right.
I'm sorry. Yep.
So it's either them or A Tale of Two Sisters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Those are the two options that we have.
Ken, do you want to do you want to travel through time to figure out what the fuck we're gonna do with it?
Yep. Let's go ahead and travel through time, and we'll watch some trailers, and then we'll let people not know what decision we've made, except that I couldn't remember the name of a movie I absolutely should. Ready? Okay. Doodly doo, doodly doo, doodly doo, doodly doo, doodly doo, doodly doo. David, we have now seen some trailers. Tell me, what did you think about the trailer for them, and what did you think about the trailer for Tale of Two Sisters?
Both very different. I would almost say that The Tale of Two Sisters has a very French feel to the trailer, while the French film Them doesn't.
That I would say, definitely from a cinematography standpoint, 100% see what you're saying when it comes to Tale of Two Sisters having that kind of painterly French filmmaker
artsy
kind of
sort of. Yeah,
like
you can tell that one's more. Yeah, that one plays a little bit more with sort of the artistic-esque aspect to filmmaking.
Tale of Two Sisters is for sure a story of a family, and it's very confined. But Ilse is 100% the story of like two people stuck in a house at night over one day, and
this was the film before The Strangers.
Yeah, this was definitely
this is like the film that Strangers was based off of.
This and Inside are both films that are very much in this kind of vein that in the mid-2000s were both pretty popular and something to aspire towards as a independent filmmaker because they did so little with so much. And I think like the Strangers films have a certain amount of success to them. I think Them is more successful than some of the other ones. And I think something like Inside is... Man, Inside is...
I don't think I've seen Inside.
Oh, man. So Inside...
I've seen the other one with Kate Beckinsale.
So Inside is, what if you were home alone, but you were pregnant, and a lady tried to come in and cut the baby out of your tummy?
Since I'm neither a lady or a lady?
Yep, that's a real... Oh, well, that seems...
Excessive.
Excessive, complicated, not pleasant.
Intense.
intense is the least word.
Like camping.
Yes, I would just say, intense is the least word that you would use to describe Inside, which is getting an American remake, and good for it. But David, with us leaving people now, once again on a cliffhanger, and unless you reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram or any of the social medias,
please reach out to us on Instagram and Twitter, because we would love all the more followers.
But if you don't, we are just going to assume that you love this format of us just leaving you without knowing what movie we're going to do next week. And fine, I don't care. You're not telling us, so I don't care if we tell you.
Yeah.
So exactly. So if you want us to tell you what movie we're going to do next week so you can prep.
This is how we get more listeners, right?
Yeah.
We just, at the end of
Just
every
threaten
podcast,
them.
just tell everyone, fuck you.
Yeah, no, just absolutely threaten our audience and our listeners. Hey, if you don't tell us what you want from us, guess what? We're going to do whatever we want. So until then, David, do you have any pluggables you want to plug? I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do, Ken, as a matter of fact,
Well, then,
but not that it fucking matters.
Well, then what are they?
You know what? I guess you could follow me at _DW Marlowe on Gmail, on Instagram.
But that's
I don't know. It's not like the internet fucking matters anymore. We're all gonna be dead anyway.
I mean, and to be clear, that is what a coward would do, right? If he could just follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
What if he wanted to follow you on Instagram and Twitter? Where would he find you then?
You could find me the exact same thing, _DW Marlowe, because I'm not original in any way, shape, or form.
How delightfully consistent of you.
Or just fuck it, like come over and at me on Shutter Show.
Yeah.
Shutter _show.
Oh, well, it's Shutter Show on Twitter, but it's Shutter _show on Instagram. My name,
because fuck you, that's why.
My name is Ken Stachnik, and that is consistent of both Instagram and Twitter. KenStachnik. And other than that, I don't think there's anything more important than we let you know right now that to all of our listeners, we love you. We think that you're incredible people, and that, frankly, thank you for watching horror movies with us, because everything is so terrible right now that honestly the only thing that we can do is all collectively sit around in our apartments, watch horror films, and scream, because it's the only release we're going to get. David, do you want to say goodbye?
I absolutely do. Please, thank you. Please keep supporting this respite that we have from the world that is constantly on fire and diseased. And we hope that you all stay as safe and cuddly as possible. And we love the shit out of you guys.
In the words of Apu, I just woke up from the most wonderful dream where I was dead. Good night, everyone.
We love you.